Okay, let's dive right into this. If you're running a small business, you know you're juggling a million things at once, right? But today, we're going to zero in on the one thing that can literally mean the difference between thriving for years and just closing up shop. We're talking about your finances. And more specifically, why a simple spreadsheet might just be the most powerful crystal ball you will ever own. All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off with a hard truth. Look at this number. That represents half of all small businesses. Gone. Before they even hit their fifth birthday. And you know what's crazy? It's usually not because the idea was bad or because their passion ran out. Nope. More often than not, it all comes down to a cash flow crisis that, honestly, probably could have been seen coming. So that leads to the big question, doesn't it? With all that heart, all that hustle poured into these businesses, why is the failure rate just so high? Well, it's because passion, as amazing as it is, just doesn't pay the bills. And this brings us to what I like to call the small business gamble. You see, operating without a financial roadmap, that's not just a little mistake. It's a high-stakes bet against the odds, and you're putting your dreams right there on the table. I mean, think about it for a second. You could have a game-changing product, the best marketing, an incredible team, but if you have no idea where your money's actually going, how much is really coming in, and what your financial future even looks like, you are basically flying a plane in a thick fog with no instruments. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of fuel. It's almost inevitable. So why do so many smart people fly blind? Well, a lot of the time it comes down to some really dangerous myths that keep them stuck. Let's bust the biggest one right now. And here it is. This is the huge gap between what people think and what's real. So many entrepreneurs hear financial model and they just picture this army of accountants in a skyscraper somewhere. But the reality? A financial model can just be a simple Excel spreadsheet. That's it. It acts as a map, showing you where you are, where you're headed, and the best way to get there. It's a tool for clarity, not for complexity. And you know, when you don't have that map, oh man, the consequences are rough. Expenses just creep up and you don't even notice. You get optimistic and overestimate your sales, and suddenly you've got a massive shortfall. If you ever need a loan or an investor, you've got no solid numbers to show them. And you're living with that constant nagging fear in the back of your mind. That fear of waking up one morning and not being able to make payroll. That's a terrible way to run a business. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a tool that can guide you right out of that fog. So let's stop thinking of it as some complex calculation and start thinking of it as your business's GPS. So what is it really? At its heart, a financial model is just a tool. It takes what you already know about your business, your sales, your costs, all that stuff, and it uses that information to project what's coming next. It literally turns guesswork into an educated forecast. It's not magic, it's just really, really smart planning. And it really all boils down to three incredibly powerful things. First, budgeting. This is all about knowing your numbers, knowing exactly where your money's going right now. Second, forecasting. This is where you take that data and you map out your future, so you can see where you're going to be in 3, 6, even 12 months. And third, and this one is my favorite, scenario analysis. This is where you get to prepare for anything by asking, what if? And this is where it gets so powerful. A financial model lets you answer the terrifying questions before they become your reality. Questions just like this one. If you lose your number one source of revenue tomorrow, does your business survive? Just knowing the answer to that question empowers you to build a stronger, more resilient company. Now, I know this isn't just theory, so let's make it real. Let's look at a quick example of how this shift, this transformation from guesswork to growth, actually happens in the real world. This is a direct quote from a business owner, and maybe it sounds a little familiar to you. She felt like she was just running on a hamster wheel. You know, sales were coming in, things were busy, but the bank account just wasn't growing. She was working hard but wasn't profitable, and for the life of her, she couldn't figure out why. So she built a simple financial model, and the transformation was, well, it was almost immediate. Her cash flow went from being a constant negative drain to being positive and predictable. Her decisions, which used to be based on just gut feelings, were suddenly driven by actual data. And that horrible feeling of uncertainty about the future, it was replaced by a clear forecast and a real sense of control. So after seeing the problem, the solution, and the proof, it really just comes down to a choice. A choice about how you want to run your business and how you want to shape your own future. Because at the end of the day, here's the crucial point. Creating a financial model, it's not an accounting exercise. It's an act of empowerment. It's about you moving from being a passenger in your own business to being the pilot, with all the instruments you need to navigate any storm and fly straight towards your destination. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. What is the one what if that keeps you up at night? What if your sales double next quarter? What if they get cut in half? What if your main supplier jacks up their prices? Answering just that one question, that's your first step to taking back control. Start there.